I can't really place what it is with Italy that gives them the ability to produce so many beautiful things in life. Is it the pasta, the Mediterranean weather, the olive oil, the tomatoes? Whatever it is, Italy's flavor for design is distinct, sexy, and flirtatious. The latest from Mv Agusta, probably the only motorcycle brand I will call an artist, is the Brutale 800 Rosso. We find ourselves in Los Angeles once again to ride.
Used to be one of the rotten ones, and I liked you for that. Used to be one of the rotten ones, and I liked you for that. Used to be one of the rotten ones, and I liked you for that. Now you're all gone, got your makeup on, and you're not coming back. Can't you come back? Used to be one of the rotten ones, and I liked you for that. Used to be one of the rotten ones, and I liked you for that. Used to be one of the rotten ones, and I liked you for that. Now you're all gone, got your makeup on, and you're not coming back. Bleaching your teeth, smiling, flash, talking trash under your breath. Bleaching your teeth, smiling, flash, talking trash under your breath. Bleaching your teeth, smiling, flash, talking trash.
One look at the Rosso and immediately you will feel Mv Agusta, as always, tap into your inner motorcycle emotions. The Brutale lines were originally penned to paper by Massimo Tamburini, an acclaimed motorcycle designer also behind some bikes from Cagiva and Ducati. He was touted as the Michelangelo of motorcycle design by a critic. He's that good. The Brutale gives an alpha predator pose. It's majestic and fierce at the same time. Visually, the main points to gawk at, or the first things you would see or notice when you're looking at this bike from the side, would be the 3 exhaust pipes, steel trellis frame, the single-sided swing arm, and that space between the seat and the subframe. The nothingness in that area fills and satisfies so much design-wise. This is such a beautiful bike. Although essentially in the same gene pool and class with the Super Veloce, because of the seating angle, I feel the power more with the Rosso. I simply get pulled back more because of how I sit. Now from this perspective, the Super Veloce will seem tamer, and the Rosso, well, more brutal. This power I speak of comes from a 798cc inline triple. 11,000 RPM will give you 100 horses and 54 pounds-feet of torque at 7,800 RPM.
But they told me he switched where is my mind? Where is my mind? He's the kind of guy who's always passing by, who never has time to spend. And he'll take you for a spin and won't look within to find out who you are. And he numbs himself with weed. He's from the coldest breed who judge by what.
A 32.7-inch seat height will have the Rosso preferring long, sexy legs like what I have been endowed with. However, there are many ways around this challenge for shorter riders, like a lowering kit, or tall boots, or leg surgery. Plainly put, because of what the bike has to offer, you should find a way to ride it. You will find a way to ride it. Your height becomes inconsequential compared to the fun and pride of ownership you will get out of the Rosso.
Tried to save you, but oh, my love, that rain.
The Rosso's gearing is low, which contributes to that feeling of bruteness, paired with a quick shifter that gives you 6 levels of gearing fun. The gearing demands a lot of throttle. I mean, just give it some gas. This is for the full visual experience that the Rosso can give through power and sound. Now, don't get me wrong, this triple cylinder, despite its inherent traits with other triple cylinders, actually runs smooth. There are rough spots above its resting idling state, it's a minor thing, but overall, as shown in its torque line that's nearly flat, when the action starts, this bike is superbly smooth. So what does a torque line that's almost flat mean? It means fast or slow, the engine will carry itself with refinement and control.
Around to bear the cataract of his charm attack that leaves me hungry. Well, I'm no savior, but
All right, very good looking bike over here. We are at the Doubletree Hilton and we are parked at the Diamond member parking. I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm here anyway. Anyway, we are here to look at this awesome new bike from Mv Agusta. This is the Rosso. Now, admittedly, because of the pandemic, the fanfare for this in 2020 wasn't that big because of that whole thing that we went through. But now it's out, you know? This is the Rosso. So there are 3 trims with this one. This is the base. I'm going to be talking about this one, of course. First off, I just want to point out, you would notice we got some carbon fiber parts over here. Nice trims. This is an aftermarket accessory that you can get. So the guys over at Mv Agusta in California put all these carbon fiber parts on it. That's carbon fiber here. You got some carbon fiber here as well. And if you look right under the seat here, right there, you'll see carbon fiber as well. Carbon fiber here too. So that's something you want to consider if you're getting into the Rosso and if you want to up it up in the looks department, because this is the base model, and if you want to look a bit better to taste, of course, if you want to add that, you can. In terms of quality, Mv Agusta, I mean, what can I say? So taking a closer look, what do we have here? Anniversario, 75th. Since 1945, Brutale Rosso. Paint job on the Mv Agusta is not your typical super fine type of paint. It's nice and thick and solid looking. It's that type of paint job. In terms of quality overall with the bike, I mean, it's super hard to fault. It's done the Mv Agusta way. Zoning in much closer now. Everything with the Mv Agusta at this part of the motorcycle is not bad at all. Great welds, done right. Good. The little pegs over here, little details. You got a little MV logo going on there. Solidly built. Nice and solid. Everything's in place. It's just a properly built bike, right? If I were just to comment on something here, I would say if fit and trim is at this level, I would say this area, this part would be at a lower level. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that this and this is not up to par with the rest of the bike. Again, it's not really a bad thing. So these are your controls. Grips are all right. I'd probably get some aftermarket mirrors here, something more robust probably. But apart from that, it's pretty straight up, you know? It's a naked bike. So your controls are very easy to figure out. So this is interesting. We got squishy rubber buttons over here. Everything else, you got the usual plastic switches. Engine map, start it, kill switch, hazard. Super straight up, super simple, straight to the point. And only the Italians can think of something like this or get away with something like this. In between the subframe and the seat, you got some space, and it is that space, the line that you see there, that just adds to the appeal of the whole bike, right? I mean, look at it. Beautiful. So now we have the engine. This is actually cranking out a respectable 100 horsepower at about 11,000 RPM. So not bad. I'm trying to squeeze the camera so you can see more of it, but pretty much that's what you get. 3 cylinders. The handlebars are nice and wide, so this is good leverage when you're turning. It makes things easier for you as you go around town, and it doesn't transmit as much vibration as I was expecting from a 3-cylinder engine. It was quite smooth. I mean, riding this, I didn't feel much vibration transferring from the engine to the handlebars. So the whole bike is at about 434 pounds. That's with all the fluids and everything. And with that kind of power that we're getting from the engine, the power to weight ratio, I would say, is just right. You know, it's not under, it's not over, it's just right, and it's fun. And for our brakes at the front, essentially what we got here are 320mm rotors, right? And you got 4 piston binders to stop you at the front. So braking power, I mean, there's nothing bad to say about it. It's stopping you fine. ABS of course. So at the rear we got 220mm rotors and 2-piston Brembo calipers. Again, not bad, again with ABS, and the whole thing we got traction control as well. Okay, let's take a listen. Sounds good. So looking at this, you can see how this just tapers off. It looks like a very sexy waist. So that makes a difference, of course, when you're riding it with your legs over here with something like this tapered off. That's cool. Considering with how it looks, you're kind of thinking, is this gonna be a comfortable seat? But you know, let me show you. It's actually quite generous foam-wise. See? See how that thing just goes down there for your butt, right? So it's not like a sport bike seat that you're sitting on a plank. It's pretty generous. It's the Popo. That whole streamlined look for a seat. It just looks like it's not gonna be comfortable, but it actually is. It's fine. Better than most, I must say. For the Pillion though, it's not gonna be as comfortable as what you have over here. I can tell you that. This is not going down as much. This would be the plank. So if you're gonna be the rider, good for you. If you're gonna be the Pillion, brace yourself. The Rosso also has some MotoGP tech in it. The bike has a counter-rotating shaft that spins in the opposite direction of the wheels, so the gyroscope effect is lessened, which means this makes the Rosso easier to turn, effortless. Backed up with really sticky Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3 tires. End of the day, a counter-rotating crankshaft is better for handling. With less gyroscopic effect, you're gonna be better turning, basically. That's what it is. Your rake over here is nice and steep and you got a very short wheelbase. You got a killer here at the corners. You're gonna enjoy the track, you're gonna enjoy carving canyons, you're gonna enjoy the twisties. Handling with this Brutale is gonna be really good. The suspension is a seasoned tango couple. Dancing together well are the Marzocchi forks and sag shocks as they tumble and weave through the urban dance floor. Okay, let's talk about the forks. What we have here are fully adjustable, as you can see. At the rear we have sags, also adjustable, not bad. Of course, the higher trim Brutale at 1000 cc's, they got Öhlins, but you know, that's pretty good too. Already, all that I mentioned should be giving a rider a lot of confidence on two wheels. One will wonder the point of all the high-tech safety electronics slapped on this bike. Well, safety is still on the Mv Agusta engineers' minds. Rightly so. We have of course ABS, 8 levels of traction control, 4 modes being normal, sport, rain, and custom. I stuck it out in sport the whole time. So how to adjust the riding modes, basically it's this button. It says engine map. So engine map, we are in sport. So other things we got here, basically it's trip 1, trip 2, that's pretty much it. So you got your speedometer, your odometer, your RPM, you know, basic stuff. So to toggle through all of that, it's basically gonna be this rubbery switch. So you can see how deep that thing goes, right? And it's basically set and okay. So straight up, very simple. The digital display is probably the only thing I'd have a beef at. The level the Rosso is in demands for a TFT display, and nothing less. I hope Mv Agusta will have an update on this in the near future. A step closer to perfection will be that TFT display. Again, with how the whole bike looks and what it's, you know, exuding, this would be primitive in comparison. So the good news is they are going to be putting a TFT display for 2021, so watch out for that. All right, California, let's try some brakes. 30 miles per hour rear first. The setting is ABS 1. Rear brakes. So it's not going to be stellar, and I suspect with how Mv Agusta tunes their brakes, you're not gonna live with just the rear brakes alone. I'm telling you right now, it's not gonna be that awesome, But if you use the front, very good. And while we're doing the front brakes, I would like to comment that you would want to also adjust suspension here. There is a bit of a dip or a dive that's kind of voog, 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 voog. Voog, voog. You know what I mean? Usually when hard brakes, you would want a nice dampening dip, like this one is like, you know, it just dips fast. Again, rear, not too stellar. Slamming on it, it's going to be a sporadic feel in terms of the intervals of the ABS pumping, like so. It's like vug, 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 vug. Front is great. So let's do both now. Yeah, man. Good. Good stopping power. So I'm slamming on the brakes without going crazy. Like, I'm not slamming on it like my life depended on it. So you can kind of gauge if there was a big emergency and you really had to slam it. The front brakes are really gonna bite. If you're not gonna lose it under you, it's got ABS. And when you're combining it with the rear, it's really great. Which gets me to say that, you know, Mv Agusta tuned their brakes, especially the rear brakes. You know, it's very helpful when you're doing turns and you just wanna not dip your front. You just need to slow down a bit while you're taking a turn. The rear brakes would be great. So maybe in that capacity, again, with this Brutale at least, I would adjust the front forks. The dips are kind of fast. You know, I would want the dampening to have more resistance, you know? So when you're slamming on the brake, it's gonna be, as opposed to, you know what I mean? Sound effects. Riding around Los Angeles gives a level of excitement akin to playing with a supposedly tame tiger in a cage. You don't know if it'll bite back. But this trip proved to be a fruitful one with no crazy drivers to contend with, and I'm thankful for that. My time with the Rosso was a testing the waters first date time of deal that got away with a first kiss. I'd like more saddle time in the Benz next time, so I gotta plan my next trip well. This bike is also one of the reasons I bought the Super Veloci 75th anniversary for my son. The Rosso is a prime example on how Mv Agusta can connect directly to the rider's spirit and stir the soul. Congratulazioni Mv Agusta! Viaggiate tutti al sicuro e rimanete in salute. Questo è Zach per Macchina Moto. Ciao!